Welcome to A Cup of Gratitude with Amanda Schaefer. Hi, I'm your host, and I'm so glad you stopped by. This podcast is really for anyone, anywhere, anytime. And it's about taking a moment to slow down and look around and actually see all of the good things that are there. There's no question that asks, is your cup half empty or half full? But I think a better question is, what's in your cup? I mean, a drop of gratitude will benefit your life unimaginably more than a full cup of anything else. So let's settle in and take a look at how we can shift our focus and embrace the joy and the wonder of the life that we have. And once you start, you won't be able to stop seeing the good. And just like me, you won't be able to stop talking about it. And somehow that creates even more. Even in the midst of difficulty, even when it's really hard, learn how to drink from a cup of gratitude.
Welcome today. I'm speaking with Heather Strickland, who is a wife to her husband for almost 20 years. They have 3 teenage sons. She has been a stay-at-home wife and homeschooling mom from the beginning. And she discovered her passion for encouraging with words and has contributed to blogs along with her own blog throughout the years. And Heather is a self-published a devotional in 2014 with hopes of encouraging women through daily life lessons. She enjoys being outdoors, sipping on coffee, spending time with her family and friends, and learning more about her Father in heaven. She's currently working on her next devotional, and you can find her. We're going to give you all of the links in the show notes on Facebook and on Instagram, and you will enjoy following her. I know I do. Welcome, Heather. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation. I really have enjoyed getting to know you. You know, those who listen regularly, and if you're new, welcome. One of the things we do differently over here on this podcast is we start at the beginning of our story in our childhood and we work up to what God is doing now. And it has been a beautiful thing because every story is so unique and different. But what we find is that in every story, God proves to be the same, and we get to see his character and his goodness, the way he loves us, and the way that he can take things that even difficult things and work them to good. We have a lot of people who listen who don't currently go to church. They don't read the Bible, but they listen to our stories, and they have started to contact me and let me know, like, hey, I'm noticing these things about God. And it's been a great place to be able to share about the goodness of who he is and answer questions for people who are beginning to seek to know him, a really great part of this ministry I love so much. And so with all of that in mind and why it's so important, the other thing is a lot of times we're blessed by our own story. We miss things or forget things. And when we go back and look on purpose with God, he's able to show us things that we might not really even know about our own story. So with all of that in mind, Heather, would you be willing to tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Yes. So I grew up in South Mississippi in a little town called Lucille. Um, I had lots of family time. We spent a lot of time at home. I had a lot of cousins. I have a big family. My dad had 8 brothers and sisters, so I have about
Wow.
32 first cousins.
Wow, that's a lot.
So we spent a lot of time with them. We spent a lot of time in church also. Um, Lots of time outside. I was in public school, so you got home and you couldn't wait to get outside, and we would play till it was dark and come inside
Mhm.
and start over again. So I had a really good childhood. I had a brother and a sister that I was close to also.
That's awesome. You had told me during our pre-recording call that you had a teacher, Miss Phillips, in second grade and Miss Wilson in first grade that really stood out to you. And I often ask people about people that stood out to them in elementary school because I do believe that God peppers in some really good people along the way, even when we have difficult childhood experiences, which it doesn't sound like you did. So, what was special about them, and why did they stand out to you?
So Miss Wilson was my first grade teacher, and we actually went to church together for a little while. And
Hmm.
she was just so sweet. She had the sweetest temperament. She was so helpful. Um, I also knew her children and her husband, but she was just so sweet. She was so kind to everyone in class. Even though she, made you follow the rules, she was very sweet.
Hmm. And
And
you
then
had also mentioned Mrs. Phillips.
yes, Miss Phillips. So she was my second grade teacher. It was Miss Phillips, and Miss Five Ash was her assistant. And Miss Phillips was very sweet too, but she didn't put it with any bull. She held you to the line, but she pushed you to be your best, even at second grade, But she was very sweet too, and I actually still keep in touch with both of them today.
Yeah, I just had a conversation yesterday with someone about how you don't always realize it at the time, but those people that push you to be your best, in the moment, it might seem hard, but later they're the ones that we're really grateful for.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of your favorite subjects were English and writing, being creative. You liked art a lot. I think we would have had a lot of fun together. They were all my favorite things too. What about those things drew you in?
So I took creative writing in the middle school. I don't remember what grade, but um, just being able to just be yourself, like be creative. I wasn't very good at like fiction writing. I would try, but I love to like paint. Though I'm
Hmm.
not very good at painting, it was just fun. It's like there was no, I guess, standard of what was beautiful or what was ugly. You just painted and you just wrote.
Yeah.
I did like writing poems, but they weren't very good poems.
Well, here's the thing. God's a creator and we're made in his image and we were made to create. And so there really isn't a competition. I hear a lot of people kind of self judge like, well, I wasn't very good at this or I can only draw stick people or whatever. And honestly, there is something in the way that we were made that we are meant to create. So we do get a joy from it because it's part of who we are. And it really doesn't matter. I don't think we're supposed to compare to other people or if you enjoy it and it's creative, I think it's a good thing.
Yes. I guess that was what was fun about it is you just they gave you paper and they said write, or they gave you paper and they said paint
Yeah.
or draw or whatever, and it was just I don't know, it kind of made you feel like a child again in a way. Even though I was only in middle school, you still felt like you were going back to being younger yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time not that long ago when adult coloring books were a really big thing. And I think
Yes.
it's because people missed that ability to just color in,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Be
just,
carefree.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, you told me that you're pretty shy.
Yeah.
You wore glasses. You said you got picked on sometimes, but you had good friendships, but nothing super deep. What were your relationships like? Like, how would you describe them when you were young?
So yeah, I started wearing glasses in the fourth grade, and
Hmm.
they were thick glasses because I cannot see hardly at all without them. And I
Right.
was really skinny, and I hated being so skinny. And then I had the big glasses. I mean, I'm talking about big old glasses on my head. And so I was picked on because of that, and I think that made me kind of reserved at talking to people because I didn't want to be noticed because I didn't want to be picked on anymore. Um,
Yeah.
the main thing they called me was Coke bottles. They would call me Coke bottles. And I
Hmm.
think they were just being kids or teasing, but still, it made me kind of be like, I'm not gonna talk to many people. But I did have a lot of people who generally liked me. They just said, oh, Heather's so nice, or Heather's so sweet, or
Hmm.
whatever. So I had people who liked when I had friends. I was more scared of talking to people because I didn't want to get picked on.
Yeah, I get that. And we all remember those moments really easily. Like they're so long ago, but I
Yeah.
have a memory that popped into mind. And I didn't really get teased often, but this one particular girl, I remember exactly where I was standing on the playground and she called me Bug Eyes or and I was
Ooh,
like, Bug Eyes. And then I went home, I told my mom, I remember being like really upset. And she's like, someday people are going to want to have your big, beautiful eye. Like it's a thing. I'm like, yeah, well, that doesn't really help right now. But I remember the feeling,
yeah.
from that many years ago. I'm going to be 62, so it's a long time ago. Just having somebody pick out anything about you and tease you about it isn't kind, and we all go through it. And I think sometimes we become shy or insular because we just don't want that to happen again. Now
Yeah. You
you
don't want the
actually,
negative attention.
that's right. Now you told me that your sister actually really was your best friend, which is pretty awesome. In what ways were you guys friends?
Okay, so I was the middle child. I have a brother who's 8 years older than me,
Hmm.
and then my sister's around 2 years younger than me. So me and my brother, we got along and we were friends too. But we were a lot alike, so we would aggravate each other, or he did the aggravating, and I did the getting mad.
Uh-huh.
But me and my sister, yeah, we were best friends. When I started driving in high school, that's when I was carrying all of her friends around. I drove her everywhere. We shared clothes, goodness, we did everything together pretty much. We were
Hmm.
we were best friends. Now we had our times where you have arguments, but it was almost like I can argue with her and I can call her names, but no one else can. And she was the same way.
Exactly.
I guess that's how you
Yeah.
are with family. Like I can do
Yeah.
this to my family, but no one else can. So we had that too. So I guess we had a really good relationship. We still do today. I mean, we're still really close.
That's awesome. And you had told me when you went in junior high, you went to a new school where all of the elementary schools were together. So there are all these new people. Do you remember anything about that time?
Yes, that was very scary. You went from knowing everyone in your school basically, and then you go to the middle school. We were the first grade to go there that integrated with all the other little counties, schools in our county. There's
Hmm.
about four to five other little communities. We all came to the middle school, and it was intimidating because you ended up with classes with people you did not know, and so then you had to almost start all over getting to know people. And I was quiet then too. I wasn't really picked on that much in middle school. By that time, I'd pretty much like, I'm just gonna talk to people if they talk to me, because I
Hmm.
didn't want to get picked on. It was kind of like I just don't want to be picked on, so I'll talk here and there. But it ended up being okay. But it was probably my least favorite time in school was sixth, seventh,
Yeah.
and eighth grade.
Yeah. And you told me in high school you dated a couple of times towards the end of high school and you had good relationships, but you remained not getting too close to people. Like that was a choice. Which that's what we see when we look back, right? Things that happen to us that become part of our foundation or part of our identity that don't feel safe. So we react in different ways.
Yes.
You also told me you really wanted to be Matlock, which I think is great. You wanted to be a lawyer, but by high school, you realized, like, wait a minute, I want to do something else. What did you
Yeah.
want to do?
So the Matlock thing came into play when I was probably fifth and sixth grade, maybe, yeah, probably fifth and sixth grade, because I could argue with a wall. I can argue with a tree up and down. I'm going to get the last word.
Hmm.
So for me, and he also fought, I say fought, he was always on the good person side. So I wanted to see justice. And I was like, if I can be a lawyer, then I can help all these people out and put all the bad people, where they need to be. And but then you get to high school and you realize that's like 8 years of extra school, and I've already done,
Yeah.
up to that point in 9 to 10 years of school. It's like
Hmm.
no, thank you. So probably my 11th grade year, was I've always been interested in photography, anything artsy like that. But taking pictures have always been something that I do a lot of. I have tons of pictures, so that was something I was like, well, I could maybe do photography and not really, more like of nature and in the moment pictures, not like a photo shoot or whatever. So that was kind of what I wanted to do, and then that changed also.
Yeah, I ended up going to college for business, which is really not anything like photography. How did you end up getting there?
Well, um, let's see. I took a year off when I graduated in 2001. Didn't really know what I wanted to do because, well, yeah, no, I did. I was going to do photography, but I said, I'm going to take a year off. And I applied to a university here in Mississippi, and I got accepted. And within that year, I met no, actually, I had already knew a pastor, and I started working for him. That's what happened. He had a contracting business, construction business, and I started doing secretary work for him. And he knew I was going to go to Mississippi State for photography, but he said, "Why don't you come up to? We're having like a family day at the Baptist college that I go to. How about you come up there and visit?" And so I was like, "Oh yeah, that'd be fine." He said, "I'll still pay you. You could just ride up there with me and my wife, and then you'll get paid. So I did, and that's how I ended up at Southeastern Baptist College. He kind of tricked me because when I got there, it was a college and career day. And so I
Yeah.
was like, this is not a family day. This is like college career day. So you want me to go here? And he's like, we need more good, he'd known me since I was little, my whole family. So he's like, we need more good young women that are up here so our preachers can find a wife. And I was like, oh my gosh, so you tricked me. He's like, pretty much. He's like, but I loved it. So I ended up going back there for 3 years. And the business degree, basically, I was buying time to be able to for the Lord to bring me my husband, really, because by that time I wanted to do mission work and just be a wife.
Okay. And you told me you started to come out of your shell a little bit. You went to a really great youth group. You were seeking the Lord more. And once you started to know more about God, you really started to understand that you were cherished and loved. And I'm wondering, because I wrote that down and underlined it, was that the first time you really felt that way? Not that you weren't loved before, but that you really felt cherished and loved. Those were the words you chose.
Yeah, and I grew up in a Baptist church, and so that's where I went from the time I was born until I was about 21.
Hmm.
And it was I had good pastors, but a lot of it was, zoned in on sin, and it wasn't
Hmm.
a lot of how much he loves you.
Yeah.
And I think it's an importance for both. And there wasn't really that. And I felt loved at home, but
Hmm.
you just always heard the hellfire and brimstone, preaching.
Yeah.
Whereas when I started going to this youth ministry, that was they're actually our neighbors now, but they invited everybody from every denomination, and you went out there, and it was just they did preach, they preached the word, they taught the word, but it was also that he loves you so much, and that's why he doesn't want you to live in sin. It wasn't like, if you
Yeah.
live in sin, you're going to go to hell. It was like he loves you, so let's follow his
Yeah.
ways. And so that really did change how I viewed him and just a relationship with him. And that's when I started having a actual relationship with him when I was about 20, 22 or 23, honestly.
Yeah. And unfortunately, it happens to so many of us. We don't hear the whole gospel. We
Yes.
just hear little bits and pieces, or, end up going somewhere that's just very focused on one particular
Yep.
part of everything. And that is not what Jesus came in, went to the cross for at all. Um, and God is very explicit. As a matter of fact, he wrote a very large book with lots of things in it. And so he wants us to know it all.
Yes.
And it's a shame because I don't even understand, other than we're broken and fallen, how we have so many denominations. That was not supposed to be a thing, you know.
Yes. I agree.
And yeah, and so I just started, when I came to Christ, looking for a church that everything that I heard coming across the pulpit was exactly from the Word
Hmm.
and nothing varied. And I found it, and that's where I've been for a really long time. Very healthy, very wonderful. Lots of people coming to know the Lord, and real community. And from talking to you and following you, I know you have that as well, which is wonderful. It's a shame because there's so many kids that would have chosen, to have
Yes.
Jesus in their life earlier had they known who he really was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, you told me you also went on a mission trip that also continued to emphasize, this mindset shift for you. Like, what do you think it exactly was shifting? Was it just that idea of like truly being chosen and loved?
Well, I did that when I was 23, and we went to, it was actually the man who got me to come to the college up there. I went with him, and it was a prison ministry that we went with to Honduras. And
Hmm.
I'd never left the country. I'd never left South Mississippi, much less leave the country. But my brother went with me, so my parents were like, that's fine, you'll be okay. And it was about 7 or 8 of us, just seeing people hungry and actually wanting to hear about the Lord really opened my mind. And then just seeing how little they had, but a lot of them were so happy. Even,
Yep.
just not really so much in the prisons, because we went to several prisons and went to several youth centers, but just
Hmm.
in the stores, in their restaurants, people were just happy, even though they, don't have as much as we have. So
Yep.
that really I came back with a whole different perspective. I'm like, we are spoiled, rotten brats in America. We really do not
We
understand what
are.
it's like to not have.
Yeah.
But the thing is the more you have, the less grateful you are. Honestly,
Hmm.
is what I've kind of gathered.
In general, I believe that's true. I remember going to Malawi, Africa on a missions trip, and just when I came back, everybody, same thing. They're so happy, so thankful and grateful for what they did have,
Hmm.
not comparing, very just community oriented and open to hearing the truth
Yeah,
about Jesus. And, I came home, I couldn't do the food shopping for like a whole month. I had to send somebody else from the house to do it because I said, I cannot go down an aisle that has 12 different kinds of canned mushrooms when
yeah,
that person, is never going to know what an ice cube is like. I just,
exactly.
and so it does really show you, because I think, the poorest people in America are still in the, highest bracket of
Absolutely, yes.
wealth of the world. Yeah.
And
And
that was one thing there was the children we would give out. We did a crusade for 3 nights, and we give
mhm,
out bouncy balls. Just
mhm,
and they were just so excited to get the bouncy ball. And I thought, man, that's
mhm.
just
Yeah.
most kids, and that was 20 years ago, but still a lot of kids would have been like just a ball. But they were just
Mhm.
excited. They were just thankful. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's a whole different perspective on life, and it's the way that we all should be, actually. So you met your husband when you were in college. You guys were just friends at first. You dated, you eventually got married. You told me your husband is in law enforcement. You had your first son. You told me a little bit scared because you didn't know what to expect, and you ended up having more children. Tell me a little bit about being a mom because I know that's super important to you.
yes, so to be honest, I didn't want any kids at all to start.
Really?
I wanted no kids. Yeah, I didn't want any kids. I really I saw how I guess I saw how some kids were, and I was thinking, oh my word, that's how do you deal with that? And then the pain is what really made me not want to have children. I was
Hmm.
thinking that's all you hear is horror stories about birth, so I'm
Hmm.
thinking I don't know about that. And I wanted to do mission work. That was my biggest thing is I wanted to do mission work.
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't know if I can do mission work and have kids at the same time. And like you said, my husband was in law enforcement. He pretty much when he graduated patrol school, we got married 6 months later. And then 4 months later, we had our first son, and then the next one, then the next one. And it was during that time when I kind of felt like, Lord, what are you doing? What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm not really able to reach anybody. I'm here with kids changing diapers, wiping up, spit up, trying to sleep at night, trying to get them to sleep at night. And so it was just, I felt like I wasn't doing anything important, you know?
Hmm.
I felt
Hmm.
like I was not being seen. And I was like, I want to tell people about the Lord. I want to see people's lives change, but I don't
Hmm.
feel like I'm able to do that being here at home all day. And, it was probably after our second son because they're doorsteps. They're 18, 16, and almost 15 right now.
Hmm.
So it was after our second son is when the Lord kind of corrected me and said, "You do have a mission field. You have right now you have two sons, and yes, they're little, but you have a blank slate,
Mm.
and you're going to be able to impart into them and teach them my ways, and they're going to, they'll impact places that you never will. So you
Yeah.
do have a mission field." And he's like, "It doesn't matter if the world sees you important or not as a mom. It's a very important calling." So
Hmm.
kind of corrected me, and then that's when I started taking, I guess, feeling so yeah, I wanted to take that message to other moms and let them know that they are important, um, just in the ordinary day of life, that he can speak to you and that you have a mission field. It's your children and your home
Hmm.
is your ministry.
Yeah. Now, you told me you started writing a little bit to encourage moms. You eventually joined Facebook, and there were two ladies that you knew who were already doing blogs. They asked if you would join the group, and what did you do? What y'all write about, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, so I started sharing on Facebook, and more people started, "Hey, we like what you're writing," or "We're encouraged by it." They would private message me. Then I had one lady private message me, and she said, "I've been looking at your Facebook post, and I think you'd be a good fit for our my blog, Laced with Grace." And she said, "We'll do I'll give you like a topic each week, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it's your turn to write on." So it was various things, but it was just encouragement from the Word.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other lady, she reached out not long after that, and she told me the same thing. "I've been seeing your post, and I feel like the Lord's wanting you to write on my blog." And this one was specifically geared towards wives and marriage. And
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt like I struggled more as a mom, I felt, but I felt like as a wife that I had more, not experience, but like I felt like I could mentor more from a wife standpoint than I could from a mom. With a writing from a mom standpoint, I felt like I was encouraging them with my struggle. But
Mm-hmm.
writing for the wives ministry, I felt like I was more mentoring them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for, I'm not sure how many years, but it was a little while. And then I started my own blog also during that time.
And what was your blog about?
Basically the same thing. The verse, I think it's Titus 2:3, where it talks about that the older women will instruct their younger women and how to, take care of their homes and their children, their husbands. And that was kind of my motto. Really just wanted women to see that just these simple, mundane, ordinary things in your day, he can speak to you through that. And so
Yeah.
that's really how he spoke to me. And that's kind of what I wrote from. It was not
Mm-hmm.
sugar coated. I would just wanted them to, I really wanted them to feel what I felt. So I tried to write very honest and very raw to
Yeah.
the ladies.
Yeah, vulnerability is really key to being able to connect with people and is so important. You told me that, when we had the pandemic, in about 2023 is when you really felt like the Lord started some heart surgery, things that you didn't even know needed to be done. And we all have that time, sometimes several times like that, where God points out what needs to happen, and then he helps us go through the surgery and the healing. And it's difficult, but it is something that we can then use to help others who haven't gotten there yet. So tell me a little bit about that time.
So by that time, I had taken a break from blogging. I blogged on my blog for about a year and a half, and it was a lot to put everything together and get it out on the days I wanted it out. So I kind of stepped away from writing by that time, and the Lord was like, I didn't really want to give it up, but I was like, you know what, I feel like he's wanting me to just step aside for now and
Mm-hmm.
focus on, the homeschooling a little bit more. The boys were getting older,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband's work was getting more stressful, so I just stepped away from writing. And then the pandemic came, and then that was in 23. I started using some supplements, and through the supplements, they wanted me to kind of advertise and
Mm-hmm.
do like reels and lives, but I just couldn't do it. And that's when I started asking the Lord, like, why can't I get on here and just talk about these things that help me? I was so afraid to do it. And I would let my upline know that. I said, I don't know why, but I really can't get on here and do this. And I was just started asking the Lord, why? Why can't I do this? Why do I operate this way? And he slowly began to show me things. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a long 2 year process of him
I'm sure. I'm sure.
showing me.
When we look back at you talking about you shut down, got quiet, didn't go too deep after you got teased, I'm sure being on video online kind of
Yes,
brought back those feelings. I
yes,
remember arguing with God about videos. Obviously, I've given in. But I like, I'm older woman and it's all this technology was not something that I ever expected to be doing on a regular basis, and yet here I am.
yes.
But he had two separate people affirm me where they didn't even know I was arguing with God about this, who were like, "Hey, I see you like on screen. I see, the other person, I see you impacting people through video." And I'm like, "But my podcast isn't video." They're like, "No, but I still see you." And so, and then Instagram turned into Reels, and next thing you know, you're doing YouTube and TikTok, and I've got them all. But what I've found is that people do need to see. They need to see your countenance. They
Yes.
need to see the peace. They need to see your eyes when you're telling them something that God's just shared with you from his word. And so, God is God. He was right. And he also said very clearly one day, just use what's in your hand,
Hmm.
and like, look at the things he had Moses do with one staff. It's
Yes.
basically a stick, that's
Yes.
so the fact that we can go internationally all over the world from home with these phones and computers and things, we say we want to go on mission. We say we want to share the
Mhm.
gospel. How do we not use what is right there,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was my thing. I was like, people are gonna like be picking me apart the whole time I'm on there talking. And I
Mm-hmm.
shared that with my ladies who are above me, and I was like, I don't understand. And I just said, Lord, what, why? And then I started realizing pretty much that's how I've been all my life, um, timid and shy and not want to be the center of attention. And I
Mm-hmm.
just thought that's kind of like who I was. And
Yeah,
the Lord began to show me that it was not and who I
that's right.
was. It's just who I kind of became.
Yeah, yeah, because of the things that happened to you. And
Yes. Yes.
until we can embrace that our true identity is child of God, and that's first,
Yes.
we carry things we were never meant to carry. And you told me that by 2024, you actually had mornings when you didn't want to wake up. You felt really heavy, really depressed, and it came to the point where your husband actually said to you, "Hey, I think it would be helpful for you to go talk with someone and get some help," which is really important because I think the people that love us, a lot of times we hide these things from
Mhm.
other people, but the people that love us can see. So, what was that time like for you?
That was it was hard. Like I said, by the middle of end of 23 is when I started asking the Lord questions. And I remember one day on the radio, I heard someone say, she said, I asked the Lord, what is one lie that took root in my heart
Mm-hmm.
growing up, or whatever. And she said he showed me. So I was like, I'm gonna just ask the Lord, is there something that's taking root in my heart? And if you're telling me I'm not operating the way that you designed me to, then please show me how to operate the way you designed me to. So
Mm-hmm.
really 24 was him digging and digging and digging
Mm-hmm.
and revealing. It was like layer by layer, just things that, like, he didn't create me to be insecure. He didn't create me to be timid. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
create me to be worried, because I worried a lot about what people thought about me,
Mm-hmm.
my appearance. And I guess that stemmed from the childhood being picked on a lot. And but I let it affected everything I did, even how I dressed. I would not dress in bright colors. I did not want to be seen.
Mm.
But I didn't realize that until he began to show me those things. And then I
Yeah.
thought, wow. And but 24 was hard. So backing up, it was very hard. And
Mm-hmm.
just answering some hard questions, asking myself some hard questions. And then
Mm-hmm.
by the end of the year is when he really began to, I guess, he had been taking all the junk out of my heart,
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
lies and all the false identities. And by 25 is when it started to get better. But 24 was hard. And I never understood how a believer, because I was still reading my Bible and I was
Mm-hmm.
still having a relationship, but I didn't understand how people could get that low and feel that bad, because I was always the one who was the encourager. I was the one who always saw the silver lining, but it was
Mm-hmm.
like I didn't have that anymore. It's literally like the life was being sucked out of me, but I believe he was taking all of the junk. He was having to remove the old Heather, literally, so
Yeah.
he could put the truth in me.
True. And here's the thing. If you've ever watched a video or heard about the refining process of gold, right? God says he brings forth gold out of us, right?
Yeah.
So a refining process is the refiner sits over this gold that is being turned into liquid by heat, right? So that's not comfortable, right? And then he starts to take off the top, all the dross, all the things that don't belong, all the things that aren't gold, all the things that are not full of value and worth, right? And takes those things off. But it doesn't just happen one time. As a matter of fact, it takes them about 7 times of doing that process until they're done. And you want to know how the refiner knows when he's finished? He
How?
knows because he can see his reflection.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
so, yeah, it's like, and he does it, he does it the only way it can be done. So it might feel uncomfortable, but how close is he, right? That
Yes,
he is in the process with us. And when we can learn that, and when we can learn that the fire is actually the Holy Spirit, right? Like, it's kind of mind blowing. When you take that little scenario and really look at it, how involved and invested he is in wanting us to be fully
yes,
healed. When he made us, it was the first time out of all the things in creation, everything was good. When he made man and woman, he said, and this is very good, right?
yes,
We're made in his image. And so just because everything fell doesn't mean that he doesn't want to be with us. He did the ultimate to be with us
yes,
still,
yes.
which again, mind-boggling. So tell me a little bit about, you got through some of the healing. You had written a devotional and you're now working on another devotional. We talked about doing a giveaway with your first one. Tell me, how did the devotional come together? Why are you working on another one? What what is your desire from putting these together?
So the first devotional, well, since probably the college days, I was like, I want to write a book. I just wanted to write a book, Well, not college days, probably when I began to um, having kids and then encouraging. That's when I kind of wanted to start writing a book, but I didn't know where to go from and where to start. And so in 2014, a friend was doing actual write your ebook in 30 days class, and so I took it, and that's how the devotional come about. And it was a lot of the devotions that I had written for the other two blogs, and then some that I had handwritten that I'd not put out yet. So that's how that came together. And I just wanted to. I like devotionals. I like to have some kind of devotional with scripture and studying the Bible. So to me, that was like perfect to give to other, to for other people to have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then this next one, coming from the season I come out of, is probably going to be a lot different because, like I said, 24 was hard. 25 was really the of me learning to be the Heather he had always created me to be. And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the year, he gave me a different message, and it was that um, I'm worth more than the sparrows. I just never believed that. So I would like to write my devotional, or not like to, but that's what it's going to be more geared toward, is really knowing that you're worth more than the sparrows and how that can affect your life and what not to link your worth to, because
Yeah.
we as humans link our worth to so many different things, and the only thing to link it to is him, because he is unstoppable. You cannot change. He doesn't change. So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be what I'm probably going to gear it towards. It's like he'll give me stuff and I'll write, and then it'll be 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'll have something else and I'll write. So
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of it, like you said, we talked before. You kind of write in spurts, and you have stuff, and then you'll
Mm-hmm.
have the final product. So that's kind of
Yeah.
what I want to put out there now, is that when you know how much you're worth to him and how much you're valuable, I mean, it
Mm-hmm.
opens up so many doors. It has for me, like freedom, like I've never known, and I want to
Yeah.
pass that on to other women, and not just women, but men too. So this
Yeah.
one probably won't just be geared towards women like the other one was. It's going to kind of be for everybody.
Awesome. And, God loves to take the experiences he takes us through for healing and have us pour those out to help others. That's one of his favorite things for us to do, is to actually share what we've learned. And honestly, so we're going to do a giveaway of the first book. You'll be on the lookout the week that this episode comes out. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, that's where we do those. And if you don't follow me there yet, it's a cup of _gratitude. And it will be worth jumping in on the giveaway because it sounds wonderful. I'm looking forward to your new book whenever it's in God's timing that it's done, and maybe you can come back on. But I have one more question for you. You and I could probably, get a cup of coffee and talk for a few more hours. But in light of time, I have one more question, and this is the one I always end every episode with. And it's not that we can go back and change anything, but the wisdom from your answer, someone listening today might be able to apply to their life today. So, if you could go back and give your younger self any advice, what would that be?
Ooh, that was a hard one. I have to think. I would say believe the Father when he says you're worth more than the sparrows, and
Mm,
don't let the opinion of others dictate your worth or decisions. And don't worry so much about the outcome, because I worried a lot about the outcome of things. Where when
hmm
I just said, you know what, he has it all. I'm in his hands. I'm the apple of his eye. So don't worry so much, and just believe when he says you are worth more than the sparrows, and trust his still small voice. If his spirit is in you, then he's going to speak to you. And
hmm
um, that's what I would love to tell my younger self is just trust him, and don't worry so much. Don't be full of anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why that's in the Bible so much because it's
Yes.
just our go-to. Um, it just seems to be our go-to. And honestly, if you think about it, control and wanting to be in control is based on us having fear, and then real trust requires surrender.
Yes.
Surrendering to God and trusting Him. And so they really are on the opposite sides of the same coin. They're on the totally opposite of one another. And like fear does not come from God. That comes from the enemy. That comes from our fallenness. That is not anything to do with what God has planned for us. And honestly, he promises, Jesus says that we can have an abundant life. And I'm telling you, I don't know. Like I used to think, and I talk to a lot of people who think now that Christianity was boring or somehow, trying to take things away from me.
No,
No way, you're doing it
no
wrong.
way.
It was so encouraging and such an adventure and so abundant when you're doing it,
Yes, definitely
with
not
him.
boring at all. I can
No.
attest to that. It is not boring. It's a can be a roller coaster ride at times, but like you said, if we just trust him, and for a
hmm
lot of years I just didn't, because I'm a type A personality, and I like plan routine. I like to know what's going to happen, and I
Sure.
just tried to, like you said, control a lot, and that come from fear though of not trusting him. And so this past December, when I finally said, you know what, I'm just going to trust you completely, the worry goes away. And I want others to know that you don't have to worry about every little thing. When you
That's right.
start to, just remind yourself that he has you in the palm of his hands. I mean, he knows everything that's going to happen. Why not trust him? He created you.
Exactly. And I'm a former warrior as well, and I'm really really somebody who has great faith and has turned over with open hands just
Hmm.
everything because literally I was dead and now I'm alive. Like I remember what it felt like not to fully be alive. And so now all I want to do is offer my life every day like a living sacrifice. I just
Yeah,
want to do whatever he gives me to do and trust that he knows what he's doing. And honestly, the stories where things are difficult and we know him are stories where we can actually give him glory, right? He
exactly.
twists it around, turns it around, and does something unexpected that only he could do, and then it shows people who he is. So, um, well,
Yes.
I am so grateful that we got a chance to do this, and I can share your story. I'm looking forward to your episode coming out and to being able to do a giveaway with your book, and I'm looking forward to you getting the other one finished.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I am the luckiest girl in the world. I get to do this all the time. It's so encouraging
Yeah, you
hearing.
have an awesome job, or awesome ministry, I should say.
And you know what? Totally that was God because I never even listened to a podcast before I started this, and all I
Wow.
did was tell him I wanted to share the gospel, and I was cut off at home during the pandemic, taking care of my parents, and I couldn't do any in-person ministry. Next thing I know, I'm buying a microphone and converting a closet in a 1600 farmhouse, and 5 years later, I'm still doing it. So,
And that's what happens when you give him an open hand.
that's
So
right. Yeah, and it's the best thing I never knew I wanted to do. I love it.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Heather, I hope you have an amazing day. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, you too.
Hey, so I just want to thank you so much for spending your time with me. And I want to challenge you to go out today and to just take notice and to stop and really look around and find at least one good thing, one thing to be thankful for. You know, if you do that today, you're going to find so many more things tomorrow without even trying. Because once you start, you begin to see what's always been there. And if you need a refill, you can come join me again for another cup. Make sure to subscribe and have an awesome day and go be grateful.